I find most people that are interested in getting started in fly fishing find it very intimidating at first. You walk into a shop and you really don't know what questions to ask. And I've worked in retail, although that wasn't my real job, but I have worked in retail, and I've had people walk in and you can see that they're kind of afraid to ask a particular question. You'll ask them, "Can I help you?" And they'll go, "No, I'm just looking." Well, once you can kind of get their confidence, you say, "Well, what, are you interested in learning how to fly fish?" "Yes, I do. I am interested in it, but I don't know how to get started." So the first thing you do is you talk to the guy about, where can I get some lessons? That's the first thing you want to do, is where can I get some lessons, instead of buying all the gear and then going out and going, "Well, how does it all go together?" You get somebody that, ask them if you know someone that'll teach fly casting, because that's the first thing you have to learn. And once you learn that, you're taking that bullseye off the forehead, and you're not walking into the store cold and going, "I don't know what to buy," and the guy sells you $1,000 worth of equipment. He doesn't do it to be mean. He's just doing it because that's his job. They know their business. There's no question about that. I mean, they're going to be helpful as they can be, but at this point, you really don't know what to buy. So let's just say you're going to go trout fishing, for example, or you got invited on a trip someplace and you're going to have a guide. Well, if you can't cast, how do you expect the guide to get you into fish? So my suggestion is, find a qualified instructor and have that person teach you the basics of casting and of the equipment, so that now when you walk back in that store, you can go, "All right, I want a such and such rod, such and such reel, such and such line," and you go from there. And I think that's the best way to approach it. I really do, because I've been teaching casting since 1976, and I've guided on saltwater, I've guided on the Great Lakes for salmon and steelhead. I've fished almost every river that flows into Lake Michigan and Lake Superior. And I can tell you, I've had clients who cannot get the fly out to the fish. And all of a sudden, then it's my fault because you didn't catch nothing. Learn how to cast before you go on that trip. All right. So what are the basics to basic fly casting? First of all, what we're going to do is we're going to pull a fly off of the hook keeper here, which is right here at the base of the handle, or at the top of the handle, and take that off and just drop it in the water. And start pulling some fly line off of the reel. We're going to pull off about maybe 30 feet here. And just rock real slow, just bring the rod back and forth like this here until that line gets out in the water. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the basic roll cast. Basic roll cast comes back, it stops. Keep in mind, this space has got to stay the same. So I'm going to cast out in that direction with this space the same. Fly goes right out. This time here I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to open that space, and you can see what happens. I do a great big semicircle that didn't go anywhere at all. That space has got to stay the same. So when I say that space, this space right here, it doesn't change much. It might change a little on a forward cast, but never does it change here. Never do you get that opening. That's the worst thing you can do. So you're going to just be relaxed, come forward, stop the rod, and there's your cast. Perfectly done. A lot of roll casting is misunderstood. The typical way of teaching is bring the rod back and stop, come forward and stop, and it goes out. Well, that's fine, but once you really learn how to roll cast, you can actually do some things that are really quite interesting. I get that fly a little bit closer to me, come around, and now I just threw 40 feet of fly line with a roll cast. In most situations, you don't need to cast more than 40 feet. I've caught a lot of saltwater fish 30 to 40 feet. That doesn't mean that sometimes you don't have to stretch out and maybe do a 60, 70 foot cast, but the point I'm making is, if you can get it out 40, 50 feet, that guy can put you on the fish. So the reason that we do that roll cast is to get the line straight, so that when we pick it up, the tension of the water against that fly line makes the rod bend. If you can see it in motion here, you can see the rod bending. All we're doing is catapulting that line off. It's not a thing where we're using a lot of muscle. This is an 8-weight rod, 9 foot long. I got a floating line on here. So we're going to bring it back, roll it out, 2 fingers holding the rod. There you go. It shows you that you don't need muscle. That's the worst thing you can do on a roll cast, or on any cast for that matter, but for a roll cast, is to take that rod and do that, because it's not going anywhere. You've got to start slow and end fast. That's the ticket. Stop, don't bend the wrist, pop, pick it up, throw it. There's your cast. 60-foot cast, no false cast. Which brings me into another thing. What you see on television and books and videotapes and stuff, because you can't learn off of videotapes or books. You're not going to learn fly casting. Not the way you want to do it. You may get the language down right, but you're not going to get the technique down. What I see a lot is this. False casting. And back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth. And then deliver the fly. The problem with that is, as a guide, my problem is, if I'm in a boat and I'm fishing saltwater now, and I see a tarpon, let's just say a tarpon or a bonefish, whatever, and I go, quick, right there, 60 feet. And you go, oh. And now the fish is swimming, and now what I just did is I threw at its tail. The fish don't eat with his tail, he eats with his mouth. So my point is this. You got that fly in your hand. You got a guide standing in the back. It's a very intimidating thing. You're going to come around, drop that fly off, boom, and there's your cast. Start stripping it. That's the way you deliver that fly, and deliver it quickly. Now, granted, if you didn't get the fly out far enough, you just know it's another 10 feet. Shoot some line on your back cast. There's 60 feet right there, boom, just like that. It's just, all I did is shot line on my back cast. So let's just say I made a 30-foot roll cast. I roll casted it. No, he says another 10 feet. Okay, shoot some line behind you. Shoot it. There. Just shot a 70-foot cast right there. With one back cast. By letting line go on the back cast. What we're dealing with here is we got to get enough grain weight to make this rod bend. The typical fly line, an 8-weight fly line weighs 210 grains in the first 30 feet. The more line you can extend on the back cast, the more weight you add to the rod's load, the better the cast is going to be. This line happens to have a head on it that's 71 feet long. This 8-weight line should weigh 210 grains. It weighs 375 grains at the full head length at 71 feet. That makes that rod bend down in the butt where you get the power out of it. So the rod tip down low, that's where you start always. You always start though, so that when you're stripping, the fish hits it, you're gonna set with your hand like this, not the rod. So we're gonna pick it up, shoot some line on the back cast, drill it on the forward cast. There it is. One time. Just a couple of things, just to show you how little you have to do with a fly rod. I'm gonna just drop this fly on my right side, real gentle. All I did was just lift the rod up and dropped it. Let's see if we can do that again now. Just drop, boom. It drops it right there. What it does for me, it allows me to come around and make a nice, very nice roll cast. The closer you get that fly to you, the better you can roll cast, the farther you can roll cast. So let's just, boom, come around. Right there. One more time. There, now we got it. Boom. All right. So what I got here is a rod I built in 1984. That's quite a while ago. Doesn't seem that long ago to me because I'm so old anyway, but 1984, it's a fiberglass rod. I think I paid $10 for the blank. Maybe I got a whole total of 20 bucks in the whole thing. The cork, the reel seat, cheap reel seat. So the point I'm showing you this is $500 rod versus an old fiberglass rod. Where are you going to get a rod to cast any better than that? One back cast. It's the fly line, it's the ability, and it's the fly line. It has very little to do with the rod. Trust me when I tell you that. Well, it's pretty hard to convince people of that. People say, "Oh, you got a $500 rod, you'll be a good caster." I don't know where I've got 500. I have $800 rods that have been given by companies. I don't see no benefit. I hardly ever use them. I don't see no benefit in them. I mean, if it made you a better caster, why can I take this old rod and throw all that line and not have, let's do it in real time. Gonna do that same thing where we shoot line on the back cast. There, now I got it marked at 70 feet right here. So here's a red mark. I just took a magic marker and marked it red and black. I also put a nail knot right here on my finger so that when that clicks at the tip top, I know I got my head length out there. Okay. The head length on this rod is 71 feet. A lot longer than most people are ever going to cast. But if you want to reach out and do some severe casting, then you got to get a line that does that. Short bass bug tapers with short front tapers and short rear tapers, they don't cast far. They're not made to cast far. They're made to throw heavy stuff and deliver big stuff. Don't use tapered leaders on bass bug lines. You don't need them. Throw a piece of 20-pound test, piece of 20-pound test for a leader, 9 feet long. Make it simple. Buy a tapered leader, all it does is dissipate the energy and the fly falls in a big pile. Anyway, so my point is this is an old rod. I got 71 feet of fly line pulled out here. I'm gonna bring this fly line back to me. I'm gonna roll cast, and without any false cast, shoot line on the back cast, and there it is, boom, with no false cast. And I can't emphasize that enough. It'll make you feel so good when you can do that, but it'll take practice, there's no question about it. And I'm also using a haul. I would say you probably, for that length of line, you don't really need a haul. So you boom. So I'm gonna let line slide without a haul. Pretty damn near got it with no haul at all. It's because I let a line run on the back cast, built up the grain weight, it made the rod bend deeper, and when the rod unloads, it just wants to chuck that line out. But this rod will cast right along. I'll put this rod against any rod made on the market, against anybody that wants to cast it. So, shoot line on the back cast, drill it out the front. There you go. In fact, we'll pull some more line off of it. If you're going to pick up that much line, which is 70 feet of line, reach up by this first guide. Stay with it until you get to the top. And then, you don't pull that until you get to the top. That's when you do your haul. So let me do that again now. You reach up by this first guide when you're going to pick up that much line. Haul, shoot line, run it. There's the cast, minus about 3 feet, because I picked up a leaf. That's a fiberglass rod built in 84. 84, 94, 2004, 2014, 40 some years old. Show me where another rod will cast any better than that. And I've been wanting to say that for a long time because I worked with Fenwick for a few years, quite a few years. I worked with Sage, I worked with Loomis, and I finally went to St. Croix. I asked Loomis, why do you charge so much for your rods? Because we like to drive nice cars and drink good wine. I'm going, what? That's why? Please. So I quit them, and I called St. Croix. I said, I'm interested in getting some rods from you for my casting classes. If you're interested, send me 13 rods, 6 weights and 7 weights. 2 weeks later, the rods were on my porch. The reason I bring that up is I was with them 28 years. Their rods will match any rod on the market. Any rod, I don't care. If you don't believe me, bring your best rod, give me a call, and let's just go cast it and let's just see. And I say that because I don't like to be fooled, and I'm not trying to fool nobody. Pick that old rod up, shoot some line on the back cast, and just let her go. That's all you gotta do. It keeps picking up stuff off the water here. You don't have to, that's not gonna get you there. The ability and the quality of that fly line. Don't put dressings on your fly line. Wipe them down with a dry paper towel. That'll pull the crap off them. These lines have Teflon built right into them, scientific anglers. They have Teflon built right into them. You can sand them down with 1500 grit sandpaper to clean them up if you wanna. And I was with the line designer, and he's the guy that told me that. He's also the guy that invented the SAT. Here we go. I don't know, but sure looks good to me. I pulled off a lot of line on that last cast. This time here, I'll throw one out that way, and that'll be the end of it right here. So roll cast. Pick it up, shoot some line on the back cast, drill it on the forward cast, and there it goes. There it is. Shot it all. Not all of it, it's 105 feet. I'm short about 5 feet, or 10 feet, excuse me. So, I'm not saying you buy a $25 fly rod. You know, you can go to garage sales and find fly rods that actually cast pretty well, but, you know, somewhere in that $250 to $300 range will get you into a nice rod. Temple Fork is a nice rod. Scientific Anglers has a rod, but it's pretty cheap. The whole kit's like $129 for rod, reel, and line. I don't know about that, but in that $250 to $300 range, anything beyond that, you be the judge. But if you just take this and pick it up, just shot line right behind me, there you go. You can do all kinds of casts once you understand how to roll cast. Those are all roll casts. Actually, they're spade casts. Boom, gone. So again, if you got a better rod, bring it. Let's go cast. We'll see. Talk to you later.